Hey guys, Coach Chad here. Today I want to show you guys my personal kettlebell routine. And the reason why I love kettlebells is that I can get so much done with just one piece of equipment. And I think that's key. If you're struggling to get a strength routine going, make it as easy as possible for yourself. There's been some studies that have shown that just the barrier to entry, or the less friction you have to accomplishing a new habit, the more likely you are to be able to do it and to be able to consistently do it. And you can always build off of that routine. So don't think that you always just have to jump into the deep end and do things perfectly. Start off with what you can do. You know what's accessible and what you're likely to actually be able to do on a regular basis. So for me, sometimes getting to the gym is a huge hassle. And so I may not always get there. Maybe I run out of time. And so having a kettlebell around, it allows me to at least get, a good workout in, regardless of whether I can get to the gym or not. And so it's a good thing to have just as an alternative as well. So I'm gonna show you guys what I do when I'm doing my kettlebell routine. Sometimes this happens in conjunction with some other workouts or some other strength activities. Or it just might be what I get done for the day. So the first thing I like to do when I'm getting started in my kettlebell routine is kind of one of the less dynamic movements, which is going to be a simple goblet squat. So hands on the side up here, and then you're just going to go down to about 90 degrees. Make sure the back is not rolling forward, chest is tall. From the side, it's going to look like this. You want your knees about shoulder width apart, but pick a width that's comfortable, that feels right to you. You just don't really want them too narrow. And one of the things you can think about while you're doing these goblet squats is where you're driving through your foot. So you want to be thinking about driving through sort of the heel midfoot. You don't want to be up on your toes. And that's because essentially, in order to activate your glute, you need to be pushing through the correct area in your foot. So if you're too far forward, you might be doing a lot more quad than you are activating your glute in the movement. And so goblet squats, I'll typically do like 3 by 10. And I don't really measure my recovery. You can give yourself like a minute, 90 seconds between. But for me, I just find I walk around a bit, kind of get a feel for when I'm feeling ready for the next set, and then get back into it. And I'll typically actually do these as a circuit. So I'll go through each exercise and then cycle back through, rather than going through each exercise by itself. So the next one that I will do is a single leg RDL, or single leg deadlift. And what's important here is you're gonna be on one leg, and there's a good stability drill, and you might find yourself wobbling around a little bit. But opposite arm, opposite leg, and try to keep that back as straight as possible. It is hard. I know I struggle myself to keep myself from rolling forward. And so I'll show you guys from the side what it's gonna look like. So trying to keep this all straight, as if my leg and my back are on one plane. We're just coming down towards the ground, coming back up. And you should feel this in your hamstring and your glute. And really, this is an exercise. See, I'm struggling here with the stability a little bit. But this is an exercise that you'll likely feel sore the next day after you do it for the first time. So this is one that you would do on both sides. So make sure you're keeping things even. So I'd always, if I'm doing it as a circuit, I'm gonna go through both sides before I move on to the next exercise. And so again, you wanna make sure that, think about feeling that glute getting activated. So you should be pushing through your heels, kind of in a similar way that you would do if you're doing like a deadlift or a squat, any of those lifts where you're putting weight on your back. So this one is, to be honest, kind of challenging for me. What I try to do is not push it too far. So if I'm just doing a shallow one, it's better than not doing it at all. And it means that I'm not gonna be maybe potentially hurting anything by just trying to overextend when I don't have the flexibility available to get it done. the best way possible, but you know, that's a realistic side of it, is I have limited mobility there, and it's something I need to work on, so it'll get better over time. Next one is going to be a simple kettlebell swing with 2 hands. And this is great for getting your glutes and everything to fire and getting some hip extension. And so it looks like this. Okay, so a few cues with this one is, again, want to be like planted, not all the way back on your heels, but just nice and planted, like heel to midfoot on your feet. Like you should feel like you were locked into the ground as you're doing it. We're not using our arms at all to swing this. So this is all the motion. Maybe when you're first getting going, you kind of throw it up, but once you get it going, all the motion is really coming from this bottom part, and I'm firing it forward with my hips. So I can really throw it high if I want to, just by really, boom, pushing those hips forward. You can see it, it can get you pretty quick. Yeah, more cues on that one. Again, like chest tall, don't be folding over, don't be going like this. So yeah, another cue is just like keep chest tall throughout. So, and if you can, you know, shoulders back. You don't want to be crumpling forward. So the more you're right here, just strong and tall, the better. And then just let the kettlebell move around. And I can feel it. Sometimes it'll kind of throw me forward onto my toes. And that's just a good cue to keep my weight in the right spot. And again, feet can be about shoulder width apart, but find a spot that's comfortable for you. Again, looks like this. And you can see that I'm getting a little bit of a bend, but you don't need that much in your legs, right? So just bending down with the weight a little bit and then hitting it forward with the hips. So that's just the basic kettlebell swing, and that's typically what I'll start with, is just those 3 exercises and just do them in a circuit together. Like those 3 can get a lot done for you. But if you want to keep progressing things, you can then progress it to single arm. So now you're not using both arms, so you gotta work a lot more stabilization. And it's gonna be the same deal, same exact motion, but you just have to work a little bit more to keep things centered, because now you're working one side more than the other. And to be honest, it is harder. I'll show you guys that one from the side. And what I feel straight away actually is you will probably feel it in your forearm a little bit more. It takes a little bit more grip strength to hold on to it. So if you're working in the single arms, I would say make sure to take it gradually. Make sure you've at least done a couple sessions with just the 2 double arm swing to make sure that everything feels good. So again, a lot of times it's the next day where you feel the most sore, where you realize, oh, maybe I overdid it. So take it easy on the first time you introduce this into your program. And then the next day you can kind of evaluate, can I ramp it up? Was that too much? Was that spot on? And make your progression flow from there. So again, if you're doing anything on one side, make sure you counteract it with the other side. So I just did right arm, so I'll make sure to do left arm. And then from there, if you're feeling ready to kick it up, so you can actually then go to a snatch, which is going over your head. And this is, I would say, is not necessary for runners, but if you're just wanting to make things a little bit more interesting and wanting to get a little bit more core activation in there as well, because as you're coming over your head, you got to do a lot of stabilization to punch through there. And what people fear a lot with this one is it looks like it's smacking onto your wrist. Is essentially what's going to happen is the kettlebell is going to rotate over and you're going to end up in this position. And you can even see just standing here, I have to use a lot of core stability throughout here to just even hold it over my head. So you could even start here, maybe do like some squats. But what you do to counteract it from hitting your wrist is what's happening is you're actually taking the kettlebell up. Essentially the kettlebell should stay in one spot as you're punching your arm through. So it'll hurt a little bit, but as you get better at this, for one, like you'll get a little callus to it on your forearm, and then two, you just get better at that motion. It's the same thing as drills where as you repeat a motion over and over, you just get more fluid with it. So I haven't done this one in a while, so forgive me if this looks terrible, but we're gonna give it a go here. So I will typically start off with just a couple regular single arm kettlebell swings, then we'll go over the top. I'll show you guys what that looks like from the front. All right, so that's the kettlebell snatch. And so once you've gotten there, I think you're doing pretty darn good. Only thing I would add to this, and again, I don't think this is necessary for runners, but if you are wanting to work in some upper body strength into your routine as well, you know, a great way that you can just, while you're already doing it, you can easily use these for some tricep extensions. You can also do some overhead presses. And you can see I like to use my legs, but you could do these straight without it. Obviously, it's a little much for me. Don't have the most upper body strength being a runner. But I'll show you guys what that would look like from here. So essentially, you're just resting this right here on your arm. And again, you could use this as sort of an entry point to that snatch where you are using your legs. And this is the way that I would do it, is to make it a little bit more of like a leg explosive core strengthening thing than just a straight arm exercise. Again, boom, and you're rotating this arm. So now you're straight, strong. Bring it down, up. So again, with these, everything start off either light or with light reps and just build it up slowly. So yeah, guys, that's my kettlebell routine. Again, I would typically start with those first three that I showed you guys and then just build off of that, and you can build reps. You know, it's totally fine if you start off with just like 1 by 10 and just work through it one time. But again, with anything that you're struggling to introduce a new routine into your program, just make it easy. Make it easy as you can for yourself, and then start to get momentum. And as you get momentum, as you gain excitement, it's really easy to build a program off of a pre-existing program, right? So I hope that's helpful, and hope you guys will give this a try and will yield some good results.